Tamara Donn, welcome to Perfect Health with Elaine Godley on Elastic FM. Lovely to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I understand you help mothers in particular, although I'm sure fathers will be grateful of this service as well. You help them to defrazzle. What do you mean by that?
Well, in my experience of being a mum and also the mums that I've been helping, they seem to be quite overwhelmed with the feeling that there's not enough time. They're juggling too much. They're on a never-ending hamster wheel and they just can't change. And maybe they've tried to change and they haven't been able to. And maybe they've just resigned to the fact that this is the way life is. But in the meantime, they're losing their patience with their kids because they haven't got any time out for themselves as well. So there's no moments in time for themselves. So they actually are constantly on the go. And I think that's what's making them so frazzled. So they're constantly exhausted, overwhelmed, and feeling anxious and then guilty because they're losing their temper with their kids. And from my experience, it really, really doesn't have to be that way. And it is possible to change. And it doesn't take very much time at all to make those changes. In fact, my message is 5 minutes a day out of 1,440 minutes that you have in 24 hours. So if you can just give yourself 5 minutes every day, that can literally change the way you feel within yourself. So it can release your frazzles. It can help you sleep better. It can help you have more patience with your kids, and it can help you get more done. So I know that sounds like, how is that possible? But the amazing thing is that I've tried it out with hundreds of mums and it really, really works. And I've got the most fantastic feedback from this program, which I'm happy to share with you and the listeners.
Fantastic. So is this an online program or do you see people one-to-one?
It's an online program, and at the moment I'm writing a book because of the success was so great. So I'm writing a book called Frazzled to Fabulous in 5 minutes a day, which is going to be launched in January, and it's going to put the whole program into the book, so mums will be able to just do it in their own time. And yeah, they won't have to go online, because I know that's another drain on mums' energy. They go onto Facebook and an hour later they haven't done anything. So
there's so many distractions, aren't there, with social media? I think on one hand it's really useful, but on another hand it can be quite a distractful exercise to go on there. And a lot of people I know have now actually ditched social media. They've gone back to old-fashioned phones where all they can do is make a phone call and receive a text for that reason.
Yeah. So that's why it's going to be in paperback format that they can do at home.
Fabulous. And when is that book out?
It's going to be out in January. So, I'm very excited about that.
Excellent. So people can pre-order as Christmas presents.
That's right. Yes. It's not on my website yet, but it will be soon. And some of the things that mums have experienced are just for literally doing this technique. And the technique is called EFT. I don't know if you've come across it. It stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Absolutely.
And it's also...
I use it.
Oh, fantastic. It's also known as tapping for those of you who haven't heard about it. And it's like acupuncture for emotions without the use of needles. It's also been popularized by Paul McKenna, who's used it. I think he uses it for weight loss, but it can be used for all sorts of things. And the mums who fed back, so I had a 30-day challenge that I launched 2 years ago, and they reported back the most incredible results. So I knew that it would do what it said on the tin to regain your calm, enjoy your kids more, and get more done. But it had these very exciting and unexpected side effects, which I would not have predicted, such as I've stopped needing a glass of wine or a bar of chocolate at the end of the day, is one comment. My husband's been asking me what I've been doing because I'm so happy now. He's like, what are you on, kind of thing. So that's been really positive. People have reported sleeping better. One woman said, I've stopped spending money on myself to make myself feel better because I feel so good already. And one mum said, finally, I feel like I can get up in the morning and not feel depressed. So on that scale of things as well. Some people have said aches and pains have disappeared. Other people have said, one person said their phobia disappeared within those 30 days of doing the tapping every day. So these are things that I literally would not have thought that is possible, given that we weren't actually working on those kind of issues at all. We were literally working on releasing stress, anxiety, overwhelm, those kind of things.
I have a lot of people who say to me, oh, that's a load of hogwash, EFT, how can it possibly work? And I know a lot of people, myself included, where it does work. So for the skeptics who are maybe listening now, what's so special about emotional freedom technique? How does it work? And do you need to believe in it?
No, you don't need to believe in it, but if you've got the mindset of it's not going to work, then it probably won't work, because our minds are very, very powerful. But if you're skeptical but open to the possibility, I would say yes, give it a go. So for example, if a client comes to me who's been sent by someone else because they think it will be good for that person, I say, do you actually want to be here? And if they don't, if they do, then I work with them. And if they don't, then it's like, well, what's the point of even trying? So the way it works, there's been lots of research that's been done recently. And what they've noticed is that the amygdala, which is the part of the brain which is connected with stress and release of stress hormones, is actually calmed when tapping happens. And there was a study that was done where they had a group of people doing an hour of EFT, a group of people having an hour of talk therapy, and a group of people who had nothing. And at the end of that hour, the only one that had significant reductions in cortisol, the stress hormone, was the EFT group. And there's been lots of other research since then. So it's like science is catching up with what anecdotally I know to be true. And in my own personal experience, I would say that 90% of the people who come to me for one-to-ones have a good experience, and it works pretty well and easily. I'd say probably another 5% with some extra tricks and techniques around the EFT, I can get results with them. And I'd say 5% I can't help at all. And that's absolutely fine. It's not going to be for everyone. But people who have the one-to-ones definitely have amazing results. And people who do it on their own, the feedback that I'm getting is fantastic as well, because the results that I was sharing earlier about the side effects, these were people who I've never met before, who were just watching my videos and tapping along with me. So that's what I like about it, that you can reach so many people and people can access it for free just by watching the videos, and they can change their lives. And yes, it's obviously much more specific and much faster and much more thorough if you go and see a practitioner. It's like when you do it on your own, it's more like first aid EFT. And when you see a practitioner, it's going to the roots and really releasing the root causes of the problems.
Do you find that there's a pattern of the reasons people come to see you? I know this interview originally was about defrazzling mums, but from my own knowledge and experience, I know how powerful EFT is, and I recommend people to try it. Those that I mentor through cancer recovery, and I also find that not everybody wants to get better. So what's the pattern of, or is there a pattern of people coming to see you? I mean, certain ailments, certain conditions. Is there a pattern?
I have worked with people with cancer, not in order to cure them in any way, but just to work on, particularly with something like cancer, I would say the shock of the diagnosis it's really important to work on releasing that shock, because in that moment it's a life-changing moment, and it can set up all different beliefs that can then move forward with one's condition. So I would say that's also that's one of the most important things. Also, working on if they're having conventional treatment, all the side effects. So working on how they feel, like hair loss is a very big one, and working on image, like how that feels, and all of those kind of issues. So those are the kind of issues when people come to me who've had cancer, they're the kind of things that I would address. But I wouldn't say that that's the majority. The majority of people who come are more on the emotional problems, like stress and parenting issues, and not being able to move forward in their life. Those kind of things, I would say. And generally, because my name's Transformation for Women, I do work with women, and those are the kind of things that I tend to work with. But it generally does seem to be mothers, but it's not only mothers.
Okay, excellent. So how did you get into this topic in the first place, Tamara?
So I used to be a computer programmer in the city, and it was like me trying to be a round peg in a square hole, or the other way around. And I really didn't fit in at all. And I was very interested in personal and spiritual development, and I used to, in my spare time, explore all of that. But it wasn't until I became pregnant with my daughter and had my daughter that I feel that was my big transformation. And having been through that process and felt quite alone and isolated in the way that I wanted to approach it, which wasn't the way that my friends were approaching it, it really drew me to want to make a difference in the area of pregnancy and motherhood. And so that was kind of my wake-up call in that direction. So I trained as an antenatal teacher, a holistic antenatal teacher, with an organisation called Birthing From Within. And then I started developing my own workshops, and it was called the Birth Art Cafe. And that was really working with mums on using creativity to explore how they were feeling and their journey. And they could come to me even before they conceived, through pregnancy, into motherhood, and not just early motherhood. So I really enjoyed seeing them through the journey. So that continuity was very important to me. But at the same time, my husband, who was also a computer programmer and quite disillusioned, trained in EFT, and he used to practice on me and our daughter all the time. And so if anything upset us, he'd say, "Oh, just do some tapping," and I'd just humour him. And yes, it really worked. But I just kind of like, oh yeah, it's gone, so what? It didn't really make such an impact on me. But then when I started bringing it to my pregnant women, if they were upset, I started saying, oh, just tap here, tap there. And when they started releasing their negative emotions, I was just like, this is amazing. So when Peter trained to become a trainer, I then trained with him. And I've now become a trainer, and we run trainings for people to become practitioners together, and that is fantastic. But I haven't left my passion with mothers, so I've now let go of the Birth Art Cafe and simply use EFT and all the other techniques surrounding that to support mothers, be it fertility, pregnancy, or any issues in motherhood, or even if it's like period problems as well, regulating cycles. That whole journey, I work with them.
So EFT can help with regulating cycles and fertility as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've helped create some babies all over the world, not just in the UK, because you can do EFT over Skype as well, or Zoom. And so I haven't even met some of the mums that I've helped, which is really exciting.
Goodness me, fabulous. So I presume you don't do any computer programming these days, other than to create your courses and website stuff?
it's really helped me understand how to do my WordPress site and understand the technology. I'm definitely so happy I've got that background, because otherwise I think I'd be completely lost in promoting my business with technology.
I think that's a good point, Tamara, because so many people think that you have to do one thing and then you do another, but everything actually all feeds in, doesn't it? Well, you know, and I'm in my 60s now, and I can't believe. And when I first started work, that there were no such things as computers as we know them now. We used to go to a computer room, and a calculator was something that we pressed buttons on and pulled a handle, and a ticker tape thing came out. I mean, it's my grandchildren think I'm completely mad, but I've seen all this transformation. And to be able to do what you do using the technology to reach people worldwide, I think is absolutely fantastic. And as you say, it's such an easy thing. So with your program, then it's 5 minutes a day for defrazzling mums. Is it 5 minutes a day for phobias and regulating periods and those sorts of things that you've mentioned?
Well, the program that I've designed is particularly addressing the kind of challenges that a frazzled mum would experience. So if someone who wanted to regulate their periods or work with fertility, if they did that program, I wouldn't necessarily think it would make a difference, because I'm not actually addressing the kinds of issues that would happen. So with period problems, it could be the pain and that depression that you go into, like PMT and those kind of things. So I don't address those kind of things. But if I did, I think the little and often approach would help. I would definitely recommend one-to-one sessions to really knock it on the head. I mean, that would be the most efficient way of working. But as a first aid, you could definitely tap to help issues. I mean, let's say with fertility, I know that a lot of women talk about the 2-week wait when they've kind of, that they've made love, and then, there's 2 weeks, are they pregnant? And during that time, to tap, to release the stress and anxiety of am I, aren't I, those kind of, that would help massively if you did 5 minutes a day. But to actually, if conception is difficult, I would definitely suggest digging deeper and looking at the underlying causes, assuming that there aren't any physical causes that have been identified by your doctors.
Right, fantastic. So how do people find you? How do they plug into these fantastic services that you offer? What's your website?
My website's tamaradonn.com, and if they want to hear about the book, then I would suggest signing up on the homepage. There's a sign up, and you can receive a free video which will show you how to de-stress and how to use EFT. So you could get started straight away in a small way. And then if you were on my list, then I would definitely be notifying my list about the book. I've also got a Facebook page called Transformation for Women, and a YouTube channel which is called Tamara 27 UK. So those are the main ways of getting hold of me. And if anyone listening or watching has any questions at all, do email me, because I would love to support you. info@tamaradonn.com.
And that's Tamara Donn, DONN.com.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. I ask all guests to come up with 2 song choices. And the first of yours is The Showman, from The Greatest Showman. I Am Me.
This is me.
This is me, that's it. It's such a popular song. I should know that by now. Many of our guests have come through transformation or helped people with transformation. And I think this is the most popular one. Jess, my PA, has created a playlist on my YouTube channel. So all the songs that have been selected are now on a separate channel, which we'll be telling people about in due course. So this is me from The Greatest Showman. Why have you chosen that, Tamara?
Well, the words really meant a lot to me, and there's a whole story around it, because when it was my birthday earlier this year, I just loved that song, and I wanted to celebrate that song with my friends, because I remember when the Happy song came out, lots of people got together, including me and some friends, and made happy videos of singing and dancing the happy song, and you can see them all over YouTube. And I thought, wow, let's make a This Is Me song, and we can dress up and we can sing and we can dance. And so I put an email out to all my friends thinking this was the best idea since sliced bread. And none of my friends really kind of were with me on it, and they were all washing their hair that day. So I thought, okay, never mind. It doesn't matter, because one of my friends who got the email, she emailed me back and said, I just happen to know the dance teacher of Hugh Jackman from The Greatest Showman.
No way.
And he is willing to give you and I a dance lesson, learning the This Is Me dance. So there are no words to describe how amazed, ecstatic, and terrified I was about doing this. So it was a few months ago, and we had 2 lessons, and one of them was the first, it was in Dance Works in London, so it was really exciting. And we went up there, and he was teaching us this dance, and it was really, really, really difficult for me, because I'm not really a dancer, but I've always had this secret passion and desire to be able to dance. And he said, you've got to really feel the music and feel the dance, and you know that This Is Me, it's very strong. And he said, be strong. And I was like trying to be as strong as I could. He said, no, feel it in your legs and be strong. And I was trying so hard, and I found it so incredibly difficult. And halfway through the lesson, he said, okay, I'm going to show you how the whole routine works together. And he did it, and his body was so beautiful and moved so incredibly. I just burst into tears, and I felt utterly humiliated and embarrassed and horrified and so inadequate, and all these very, very uncomfortable feelings came up for me. And it was just like, I'm so rubbish at dancing, I can't do this. And I got through the lesson, and then I realized I have a lot of tapping material to do here. So I went away and I tapped and I tapped and I cried and tapped. And I got to a place of self-acceptance, which is what the song is all about. It's like, this is me. And so the irony was incredible of This Is Me trying to dance this song and not allowing the meanness to come through. So then I went back for the next lesson, and it was still really tough, but I was able to stay very centered, and he's a perfectionist, and kind of take his criticism in a good way and in a positive way. So it was a massive experience for me from that song. So that's why I chose This Is Me.
What a great story. And are there any videos of you and your friend doing the dance?
Not any that I'm willing to share. I have got a photo. I wanted a photo of me and the dance teacher, and he said, I'm only going to give you a photo if you pose with me. So he made us pose. So I've got that photo. I can send that to you.
Send that to Jess, please. Yeah, we'll put that up somewhere. Fabulous. What a great story.
Okay.
The other song is Gentle With Myself by Karen Drucker.
Yeah. So Karen Drucker, I absolutely love every song of hers, and I met her at a conference a few years ago, and I just fell in love with the affirmations, because all the songs are very, very simple chants, and they have the most beautiful, inspiring affirmations. And I listen to her music a lot in the mornings to inspire me for the day. So for example, this morning before this interview, I went to my allotment, I was listening to my music and singing along with her, and it really raises my vibration and gets me into a good zone to then do my work, make my videos, and be with my clients. And the reason I chose this particular one, Gentle With Myself, is because I think this message is so important to the mums I work with. And when I run workshops and retreats, I will often play this song. And the particular line I like of this song is, I will only go as fast as the slowest part of me feels safe to go. And it's like, I know in my life, I'm always pushing myself and striving and moving forward. And it's just such a tender place. I'll only go as fast as the slowest part of me feel safe. And when I come back to that, I come back to me, I come back to the present moment, myself. And it's a message that I need to hear a lot. And I know that the mums I work with need to hear a lot. And that's why I love that one so much.
Fantastic. Another fantastic story and great piece of advice. Thank you so much, Tamara Donn. So your website is tamaradonn.com, and we will be now playing your 2 songs. Thank you so much for being with me this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me.